Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Lands of Alaire. I'm joined here by my friends Tori and Aaron of Joined by Gaming, Tyler, my younger brother, and TJ, my older brother. I'm Ian, the Dungeon Master, and we're very excited to jump into tonight's adventure. But TJ, what's been up this week? Anything in particular?
Slower week. A lot of our Halloween stuff is done now.
Yes.
Although Halloween was quite good. And then this weekend I went to Tori and Aaron's Joined by Gaming fundraiser, which was super fun.
That's definitely the big news.
You were there too,
sure.
I
was
think.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And how'd that go for you guys?
That went amazing.
Yeah, that was great. It was a big week for us.
I can imagine, yeah.
We more than doubled our goal. We raised $1,076.
Woo!
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty awesome.
And you can still donate.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. We met some really great people. Ian ran a game for us, which was fantastic.
Thank you.
So much. Yeah.
It was wicked fun. And we were all super happy to see you guys meet and then exceed and then double your goals. Like, that's just incredible. And it's all for the Children's Hospital at Albany Medical Center. So a children's hospital we're donating. There's no better cause out there.
Are these the heroes? Or
Too true, right? So yeah, that was definitely a big part of our week. And part of the reason why tonight's episode is going to be cut a bit short. We're going to do about a half episode, we're calling it, because we're kind of exhausted. That was a 25-hour marathon for you guys.
With the time change, 25 hours.
Yeah, that was funny when I went there and realized, I was like, you guys are doing this for 24 hours, and then you're like, it's daylight savings. I was like, 25 hours a game, and jeez.
Not to mention cleanup and stuff. It was great though. It was
it was a lot of fun.
We got really lucky with the people who came. We had such a great crowd.
Yeah.
That's good.
For any of you viewers who have donated or are considering donating, it means a lot to us. And you can find that link at Joined by Gaming on Facebook or Instagram. They should be the #1 Joined by Gaming. I don't think there's anyone else out there like that. You guys ready to cut into the recap and
Let's do it.
jump into this?
yeah.
Awesome. So last week, where we left off, our party had dived deeper into the East Hill iron mines, going into the second kind of level to discover that the area is rather cursed, filled with the remnants of its prior inhabitants within this strange, ancient ruin. You guys made your way through that ruin, collecting up 4 strange gems, which you then subsequently and unceremoniously used to open a puzzle door of sorts. Making your way further into the ruins, you found the source of the curse and corruption of the area, a very vile demon with a large gaping maw and slashing talons, which you fought bravely and vanquished together after a great wound received by Leander and a very desperate battle among a strange pool of crystal clear water, which you discovered to be a divining pool of sorts, permitting you to see anywhere you'd like and experience what you're looking at. Ever inquisitive, Gilroy decided to start asking some questions to the divining pool. First he asked, where is Vorakin? And he received a vision of a man robed, older, and definitely human, addressing a large group of young ruffians, maybe 100 to 200, in the middle of a forest not too far from your current position. So you knew he was, or you were on his trail. However, he might have been a bit more convincing to the locals even than you had priorly imagined. Then, Leander, deciding that this power should not go to waste, used another question to ask about the remnants of the Silver Keepers. It was revealed to him that only his friend Arena and a head paladin who had lost himself to vengeance on the road are the only remaining members of his order. A very sad moment for him, but still a bit of hope that you can bring things back together there. And finally, Gilroy, spending no time and perhaps knowing that the power of this questioning was limited, asked, where is the Azamar, his overall target of this entire adventure, the thing that kicked it off, this single Azamar as none other have been known on Alaire. And he was granted a vision of the Azamar locked away in some strange forest. A young woman she is, and in fact, she seemed to have been there for some time, though the distance you could not tell, and the amount of time that she had been missing or captured, you could not figure as well. After receiving this information, you left the mine only to be greeted by Sevelius, who no doubt was very happy to have received your work and at such a successful rate and gave you a full 5,000 gold as compensation. But as you walked away with your new answers, the thought that the power of the divining pool in the Midnight Court's hands definitely crosses your mind and caused you to consider your actions in that moment. You made your way back to the tavern in town, the Karan on Dune, and discussed with the bartender, Celian, about the lack of strong young men in Sarangar, how they had been vastly disarmed and defeated in the River Wars 10 years prior. That was actually just after Erwan attempted to buy Frolthane the Half-Ogre's freedom from Martin. However, Martin imposed upon him an amount of gold that you could not possibly muster at the moment. That is definitely something that we'll be diving into. I'm excited for Frolthane. Then you guys retired for the evening. With all the information you had collected, you knew that Giantel must be coming quickly with new word on what to do. And in fact, she did in the middle of the night very quickly and unceremoniously addressing you all and telling you that Gnold was under attack. You made it there by the morning and fought your way into the center of town, fighting off these rebels known as the True Sauron, they call themselves. Through that battle, you made your way forward to finally see Vorakin himself in the center of town, seemingly conducting this chaos. He told you, what was it? My bad. I have to look at my notes. He had told you that it wasn't exactly his intent to destroy the kingdom itself. No, he wanted to topple its leadership and kill Jarl Morgaunt, the current leader of Sarangar, who had knelt to Farinwell in the River Wars prior and essentially given up their freedom in the north. And that's where we left off, with also Leander enlarged in a very giant state at the moment. You guys made your way to the center of town, this main road crossroads, and are being pretty much surrounded currently by these young rebels as Vorakin backs away, making his way north, as we'll call it, away from your position. So it is chaos. There's screaming and fire, the sounds of smashing windows, and the smell of burning wood. The smoke growing so thick it drifts through the streets in the morning sun and causes your eyes to water. To the left, you can hear a woman cry out. The building in front of you is ablaze. Within, you can hear another man crying out for help. Vorakin turns slowly and begins to make his way north. Through the smoke, you can barely make out a horse-led wagon positioning itself near the edge of town. To the east, Ulrin, Zorn, Bilberry, and Arena are carving a path toward you in a storm of swords, daggers, flails, and blue arcane fire. I suppose we should just straight up roll initiative.
Come on.
Not a good first roll.
Yeah, me either.
That's whatever it was.
Not a great roll for the rebels, but let's see how Vorakin's doing. Not fantastic on his end either, but not horrible. Gilroy?
4.
Oh, this is gonna go well, guys. Leander?
8.
Melee?
6.
Why does... If one of you roll badly on initiative, you all
The
roll
whole
badly.
party.
And Erlon.
17.
Okay, thank you.
There we go. Alright. Spoke too soon,
Yes.
maybe.
He's raging. He's in the
Thick of it.
he's in the zone.
He is, absolutely. I didn't take off your rage. You're still concentrating on the growth on Leander. And I repositioned you guys and moved you up a little bit as the battle was about to kind of reconvene.
Right.
So, Erlon, you are up first. And in your rage, you see, indeed, the man who started this all, Vorakin, on the far side of the street.
Yeah. So, in my rage, I'm already sweating, especially like with the fires and the ash and everything.
Yeah.
It's slowly coating my face. And I just hear the words that I live by being completely perverted and used for like malice and harm for people.
Absolutely.
And I just tunnel vision. Everything kind of becomes quiet except for his voice, and I just charge at him.
Yeah. So you make your way right across, sprinting past these rebels, and charge right up to Vorakin, who turns back to meet you with a swing of his coattail. Throw your attack.
Let's see. That is a 22.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
I'm using the Cthulhu die I used last night, so.
Let's roll excellent.
Yeah. So that's 12 damage.
12 damage, definitely a significant cut.
Nice.
On 2d6, that's pretty good.
As you slash into him, he gives a bit of a dodge back. He's very agile, even in his age. You can see a white beard hangs below his chin, and a dirty face, much like you would expect of a free roamer. However, yeah, he takes a step back, and it does connect the tip of your greatsword, slashing across his belly and giving him a good cut, but certainly not the slamming attack that you're used to. Which brings us to Vorakin, who will turn towards you, and with a quick laugh, you thought your scout, she imagined that I would poison the land. Oh yes, that would be effective if I was truly fond of the orcs. However, those aspirations quickly crumbled upon witnessing their lack of coordination. I have a better instinct for the desires of this land. So I poisoned the wine, you see. And he's dodging about you as he gives you this quick monologue. I tried to break these men free of their bonds. He's throwing a 16.
Hits.
And with a flurry of blows, a 17, he begins to punch towards you, and an 8. So 2 hits on that. And I got my D4 specifically for you. They hide sometimes among the other dice. So you're going to be taking 8 bludgeoning damage halved on the first hit, and 10 halved on the second. So that's going to be 9 points of damage to Erlon. Yeah, he connects with his fists. He does not use weapons. Very powerful, quick strikes with a strange amount of martial aptitude in this older man. And he goes, "So, will you stop these men from returning to their free-roaming roots?" And that will take us to Leander, as you witness Vorakin and Erlon battling it out on the side of the street. You also note that Erlon, potentially a rough tactical move, as there are quite a few men moving in from the left.
Right. And I also hear, is the woman screaming from, like, just down the road to the left?
No, well, a little bit. You can hear it coming from that doorway there.
That doorway, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll definitely kind of swing around and take a swing at this guy.
Sure. Meeting up with this young, gruff-looking man.
So, I charge around the corner, seeing these 4 guys there, bring up my sword and try and take this guy down.
Okay.
Hopefully take some pressure off of Erlon as he tries to take out
Absolutely.
Vorakin. That's a 21 to hit.
Yes. Nothing like a twice as big as normal half-orc paladin turning the corner to distract things.
Do I add a D4 to damage for enlarge?
Yes.
Nice.
Yep,
Alright.
extra d4.
Sweet. 7 damage.
Okay. Definitely gravely injured as you bring down your enlarged longsword, which is now much more like a greatsword in size, and cut into him. The rest of the men down charging towards you take a few steps back, seeing that this 10-foot tall figure has turned the corner. It's almost as if there's suddenly a hill giant invasion here, which brings us from Leander to those men who are going to muster themselves and charge forward as the one that you slashed into yelled out, "I need your help here!" And they're going to make an attempt at least. And that's going to be 4 attacks on you. That's a miss. Does a 18 hit you?
No.
19.
Yes.
And a miss. You're going to be taking 6 points of slashing damage from that hit.
So I probably managed to parry one, block another, my armor stops one,
Yep.
and then
One gets a good shank in on you.
with the with the way I angled myself, the blow glanced off my armor at least a little bit. Only took 3 damage. So.
Oh, right, that's true. You know, people don't tend to use that feat. It's pretty awesome at low level.
Oh yeah,
like, it tends to just cut
bandits,
damage in half.
right?
Yeah.
If they're using a a short sword or something, I'm taking like half damage from
Yep.
that pretty much
No,
every
no.
time.
Leander has the heavy armor master feat, which I would now advise looking into. It's my first character I've ever played that has, or ever had in a party that used it, but it's pretty badass.
And I mean, it just makes him that much more tanky and kind of sets me up for a good level 6 or whenever
Definitely.
I get my next ability score improvement.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
This one is going to charge in and attempt to kind of distract you in the least, Erlon. He's gonna miss. That one with the crossbow back up this way, he's attempting to aim at you, but Vorakin's just dance is too much for him to be able to get a good shot in, so he's just kind of uselessly just aiming about. Doesn't seem to have a good attempt. And over
Take the
here,
shot.
over here, we see Bilberry and Arena and Olerin are cutting away at these men and attempting to make their way through them. I'm not going to roll out for those guys, but the one thing you do notice is Zorn beginning to form a massive fireball in the middle of his hands, and that is when we're going to cut back over to you guys with melee.
Okay. So, Leander has a group.
Yes, Leander, is definitely holding his own quite well, but is
Yeah.
very surrounded now.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and help out Leander if I can.
Yeah, if you make your way probably to the right corner of that building up there,
Yeah.
you could definitely get a good shot in on one of those guys. So, like, here, per se.
Yeah.
Cool. Is this a sharpshooter shot or a normal shot?
Normal shot.
Okay.
15.
Yes.
She can just hit normal soldiers like it's nothing. Like,
She's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
6.
6 damage. Which brings us from melee to Jantel, who is going to essentially attempt the same thing, but with her extra movement speed, she's going to take position kind of right here. She's going to make a shot up that way, and she's going to hit that guy for 6 damage. Now, Shigosa turns towards you for a moment, melee, as you both are taking shots, your backs to the corner of this building, and goes, "Do you hear that man? There must be someone tied up in that building." Which brings us to Gilroy,
Which building is she talking about?
the one to the upper right, up that way.
The one with the fire in the
Yes.
corner? Okay, Gilroy's gonna see everybody run past him and see the chaos ensue in front of him. He's gonna steal himself and also run, so he's like in the square above Chantel. I think I can make it that far. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
And then, can I do one more? Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, if you went diagonals.
Yep. And then I am going to take a look at the stuff happening. I think I'm going to try and help Leander out, first of all.
Sure.
So I come sprinting into this town square, sort of round the corner a bit, but looking sort of over my shoulder. Behind me, I'm going to cast, I'm going to level my staff and let loose some hopefully pretty significant bolts of fire. Actually, Scorching Ray.
Okay.
So it's roll for each of them, right?
Yes, you roll for 3 attacks, 2 beams apiece.
Can I do, like, split them from around Leander's shoulders and hit those 3 guys that are on either side of him?
Yeah.
Not the one, like, right in front of him.
Not the one, yeah, directly past him.
Alright, so first one, 17,
Yes.
12,
12 is the guys with leather, so yeah.
and 16.
Yes.
That's 2d6 for each.
Each. Yep.
Okay. 5.
He had 5 health left. So that's 1 down.
nice.
2. Yeah, that was a little more impotent, I guess, but and 9.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Not bad. And then can I use an object?
Sure.
Okay. After seeing that sort of play out,
Yep.
taking down a dude, some not so successful bolts, Gilroy reaches into his reaches around for a little bit, and then pulls out Singstalter's bug?
The seeing beetle?
Yeah, the seeing beetle.
Sure.
And what would he have to do to send that? Like,
It has a mental link to you with Farsight, so you just essentially take its vision, and then it runs to.
okay, yeah. So I sort of bring it up to eye level.
It with mechanical little legs. When they're being stored, it's just kind of a oval thing. But once you actually activate it, 6 little mechanical legs spring out, and it begins to kind of move with a mechanical motion.
Yeah, so it sort of pops into my hand, and my vision goes to its eyes.
Yes, and its eyes glow a small little. The 2 little gems it has for eyes glow purple.
And for the moment, I'm going to have it run into the burning building.
Okay. You see that this definitely is a storeroom, probably for a residential house. There's a man dressed in a green tunic who is quite tied up, and anything of value is notably missing. This place has been looted, and this man was left to die after they set it on fire. He is screaming for help, but he doesn't seem to notice the beetle make its way in. The fire is feet away from him, so...
And it's like all throughout the room?
In one corner. It seems like they set a couple of bags of flour on fire, and it began to spread very quickly from there.
Okay. I think that's all I can do this turn.
Yes.
But I mean, if I can, I'll relay that. Say there's a man in that building. The fire's coming for him.
Okay. And Giantel gives you a nod, and with wild eyes, she glances over in that direction, though no one is ready for action quite yet, which brings us to the top of the round with Vorakin. Or, with Erlon, my bad.
Okay. So, before he said something like, will you save these people?
Yes, would you return them to their free-roaming roots? As all people of Sarengar, at least the locals, were originally free roamers and then settled down and became the Jarl-led kingdoms and city-states of the northern kingdoms.
So, I essentially yell back at him, these men were already free. Now they're prisoners of their own anger because of you. You are no son of the mountains and the forests. You are one of blood and ash, and I leave myself open as I raise my sword up really high and bring it down for a mighty swing.
All right.
Doing a reckless attack.
A reckless attack.
Ooh, thank God it's just that one. So, 16.
16 will hit him.
All right. For 7 damage.
7 damage is still something, for sure. Another good slash as you two are just in this desperate melee, kicking up dust around you, the smoke from the buildings nearby just pouring out of windows, and in fact, anyone who was a bit of the way down the street would not be able to witness this, but for you two, it is a very kind of close quarters encounter, despite being out in the middle of the street. Which brings us to Vorakin, who just gives you a vicious sounding laugh like he's lost himself. He's going to be throwing a 13.
Nope.
14.
Yep.
And a 19. So yes, on 2. And he's going to be doing 10 points of damage on the first one, reduced to 5. And 12 reduced to 6. So it's going to be 11 points of damage to Erlon in that attack. Which brings us to Leander. Leander, you're getting some good arcane support here, but you're still definitely considered surrounded.
Oh yeah. So I think I'm going to take a swing at the guy that took 2 damage.
Sure.
And I raise my sword up, shouting out, Torm will prevail this day. The innocents' lives won't be lost. Swinging at him for 18.
18 will hit.
And I'm going to make it a divine smite.
Whew.
So,
Smiting some fool.
Yeah.
An extra D4 in there too.
oh yeah, that's right. Wow. All right.
It's a big
Wow.
divine smite.
Throwing so many dice as a paladin. Wow. 8, 12, 15, 18 damage.
Very much so. Anyone who witnessed that would believe Torm is going to guide you this day because you completely chopped that dude down.
Yeah.
He is quite dead, falls to the ground, and bleeds out. Which brings us from Leander to those guys who turn and begin to run away. These two, at least. You can choose who you would like to take an attack of opportunity against.
I mean, I'll cut down the guy with only 2 health left. Hopefully.
Probably good idea, yeah.
I mean, I think Leander feels a little bit of remorse, but then he sees the burnt corpses of innocent people.
There's nothing
and
good happening.
Right,
here.
and realizes these guys are misguided bandits.
Yeah, there's nothing to save.
Yeah. For 22, so he'll do
You're going to kill him, no doubt.
Yeah, he does
11.
Yeah, 14 damage to that
Yeah,
guy. So.
that guy, as he turns around to run, that guy gets cut down by a quick reactive swing. These two meet up, and that one pats him on the shoulder, the one dude who was hanging back there, watching as this giant Leander cut down his men, and he goes, you warned the other boys! And he begins to run on past, makes it about this far. This guy turns and goes into the building through the doorway here, and open, definitely the back rooms of a tavern.
Right. Okay. Well, I suppose I can run, right? Well, no.
Yeah, you made an attack and a reaction. And there's no one near you. Actually, no, it's
Wait,
not
I was gonna
your
say, is it
turn
their
anymore.
turn?
Yeah, my bad.
I was gonna say.
You could, but you would have been provoking the attacks of opportunity instead.
Yeah.
What you do here, though, of course, now is, help, please, somebody help! Which brings us to melee.
I handled that pretty. I'm gonna stay where I am.
Okay.
And there's the guy that's next to Vorakin.
Yes,
I kind of just want him out of Erlon's way.
Definitely,
So he doesn't
he's-
have to worry about
you
him.
see it's making it tough on him, the fact that he's outnumbered at the moment.
So, 22.
Is that gonna do it?
22?
Ooh, 4. Alright.
I think it's just that he's so. I mean, the first shot we took at him, he whipped it. The first arrow, he whipped around and hit Leander for 9 damage.
Yeah,
Really
melee.
threw melee off.
Never witnessed any maneuver like that before.
Right.
Notably, you guys see now quite a few of the rebels on the far side where your friends are fighting have fallen. Zorn casts forth a monstrous fireball that just captures this entire street in a blaze that quickly goes up and emanates into the sky, and behind it you see your friends unscathed, however, a great many just absolutely charred bodies upon the ground there of men whose armor did nothing against that. Bilberry begins to evade these men and run on towards you, Gilroy, and patting you on the shoulder, or at least on the arm. He goes, Gilroy, this is looking bad. We probably got to get out of here soon, but do you hear that, man?
I do.
We gotta get in there. Which brings us from melee to Jantel, who's going to go about here. Glancing in, she goes, we'll have help in a moment. And then looking behind her, she sees, there's a few more men making their way out from that building there, who seem to be stowing away inside of this. It definitely looks like what used to be a place where horses would be outfitted with horseshoes and cleaned and whatnot. But they have gathered into a group and are beginning to emerge from that building. Which brings us from those guys, Jantel, to Gilroy.
Alright, yeah, I think Gilroy probably felt the heat from that fireball.
Yes.
On his back, singeing his cloak, and he probably turned around, eyes wide, just amazed at the power that Zorn wields so very casually and proficiently. Yeah, and that's when Bilberry sort of tugged him on the arm and snapped him out of it for a second. He's facing now down the street. His friends sort of coming towards him and behind him. Unfortunately, a guy trapped in the burning building, and some goons. I think. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. He's weighing whether or not to attack the people,
And the fires are spreading.
or to help the man. I think he's going to attack the people.
Okay. Presumably, Jantel just doesn't want to get chopped in the back. Presumably she turned around for that reason, but you could also think, if you give her support here, she can probably take care of it.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping is maybe Bilberry and Jantel can get in there and maybe help this guy
Sure.
out
Nothing
before it gets too
against
nasty.
Gilroy, but he doesn't seem like the type to run into the burning building.
Yeah, no, I had another plan to get that guy out there that didn't involve me going inside. but also meant I needed space to work. Yeah,
Yes.
like, these guys not giving me my space. So you're absolutely right. Okay, so I will just meet them at that corner there.
Sure.
And set this building on fire with burning hands.
Okay.
So
wow, that is actually a really
That's
good spot.
a dex
to
save
do.
on my part.
yes.
A critical fail. Well, what's the DC on this?
14.
A 12? A 13? And a 12. So you got him.
I believe that is
4d6?
3d6.
3d6.
Not bad.
7 damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, as you unleash this just burst of absolutely flaming, boiling air towards them, they all jump back, and none of them proficiently enough to avoid it, as they're all just kind of shuffling themselves out of this doorway, which is very much so a choke point, perfect for you to be able to unleash some arcane power as such.
Yeah, I think he, holds himself steady with his staff and lets out one hand to really pass it over their, their beings and singe them.
Yes.
But yeah, this part of the street's pretty warm at this point, so he's probably gritting his teeth and sweating.
Yeah, the old wood of that building, the horse shoe equipment building. I don't know what those are called. It's a stable of sorts.
Right,
but
yeah, sure.
It's probably a specific word for
Like
it.
a horse care.
Yeah. Well, the very front kind of foyer area is already bursting into flame. The old dried wood from the ash and general heat of the air immediately catches fire and begins to burst up, though there's not any screaming tied up men seemingly in there.
Right.
Which brings us to the top with Erlon.
Okay, so seeing Vorakin laugh presumably looks maddeningly in my face.
Yes.
I feel like the heat from the burning building still, and the amount of blows he's been landing on me.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as Walter and myself would like to chop this man down,
Oh yeah.
I know that I have to change my tactics, and I must rely on more than just my ancestors and my own strength. And I pull out my bull strength potion,
Yes.
and I hurriedly gulp it down. In the back of my mind, I'm not sure if going outside my ideals is a small victory for Vorakin or just something I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of compartmentalize that later. But this is like a soul sickness, or a soul poison that he's put in these people more than I was worried about the lakes. It's so much worse.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I will do whatever it takes to bring him down.
So popping open the small yellow vial filled with a kind of viscous liquid, you drain it down and feel as your muscles just tighten up for a moment with this surge of power. And you definitely feel stronger, though there is a little bit of guilt in the back of your mind for not relying on yourself as you've always been taught, but instead a little bit of magic.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that a bull strength or a giant strength?
It says on my sheet bull strength.
Okay, that would give you. I haven't used these since third. Does it give you advantage on strength, or does it give you a? Let's count it.
It probably gives you a base strength level.
Let's count it as 21 is your strength
21.
for the next 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Solid +5.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
that's not the way that's normally handled. It's the way it's being handled tonight.
It's this particular potion.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I'll math it. But yeah, I'm not recklessly attacking because he is jumping around and
Yeah, he's ridiculously maneuverable.
let's see. 16 plus. So now that'll
Plus
be
5 and
Yep.
a plus 2 on your proficiency. So you're throwing out a plus 7.
Yeah. Cool. So
So
that'll be
23. Yeah, you hit him hard.
All right.
And then, plus 5 on the damage now.
And I haven't activated my flaming greatsword because I think I did that last session. I'm pretty sure, and you said it was once per day.
It is once a
Yeah.
day.
Okay. I was pretty sure I did that.
Yeah, I think on one of the like random.
Yeah.
bandits
One
there.
other guy that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Oh, it might have been the guy I kneecapped.
Oh yeah, I think you did just take off his legs.
All right. Let's see. So I get the +2 rage damage bonus with this too. So
Yes.
nice. So that's 10 plus 5 is 15.
Wow.
Plus 2 is 17 damage.
17 damage, a very significant hit as you just bring down your greatsword with incredible fury and chop into his shoulder bad. He grits his teeth and goes, which brings us back to him. What he's going to end up doing is making one attack and then doing a quick disengage. He's going to hit you with that one. So pushing you, he's going to be dealing 8 points of damage, reduced to 4. And he, with that, he quickly lifts the greatsword, gives you a jab in the gut, and then takes a few steps back and goes, "You're not ready, Erlan. Not yet." And he seems to just be backing away, cackling into this ash and shadow, seemingly not attempting to get away at any great speed. It is definitely a taunting maneuver that he's making on you, and the fury only wells up even further within you, which brings us to Leander. Leander, still down the way, you hear, "Please help!"
Right, and I think, I mean, he hears his friends battling in the background, and he starts running down the street to the cries for help, and he does a quick glance back and sees the just eruption of fire and flames, and can probably barely see Erlan and Bilberry fighting there through the smoke and the ash in the air, but then turns back to this I guess true Sauron here and takes a swing at him. I think he says, a few prayers to himself as he continues cutting through these men. Definitely thinking about Torm's, blessings and his ways, especially about, self-courage and sacrifice and stuff.
Absolutely.
And definitely thinking about, I kind of just left my friends back there. I've got to do this. Hopefully they can. I know they can handle themselves.
Yes.
I'm doing a 12 here.
12 hits those guys.
Okay. And I'm gonna make it a divine smite.
Muttering angry prayers.
I was
Leander brings down his long sword.
As he cuts through these guys and hears the cries for help probably coming from every direction, definitely getting that kind of half-orc anger building up.
Yeah.
Kind of chewing away at his mind as he says these prayers. Bringing it down for 20 damage.
Yes. That is another decapitated true Sauron as you just chop into him and he falls to the ground, much like the others.
And I'll use I guess I'll get up to this doorway.
Yeah.
Is the door open?
Yes, yeah, it's wide open, and you see that one that had been retreating from you previously charging on down this way. They go, we gotta get out of here. We gotta run. And you hear the voice of another young man turns back towards him and goes, we're just about to get to the fun part. And you hear his heavy boots sprinting as he begins to make his way out of here. Which brings us from Leander to those guys, so that was their turn on that part. If we go back to the center, there was one next to you, Erlan, who, taking advantage of this, is going to attempt to... That's a miss. And then the dude with the crossbow finally has a decent shot and misses as well. The crossbow bolt goes flinging past the ash and just dust of the fight, completely obscuring his vision. That poor dude has no chance. That brings us to these guys down here. One is going to move up and try and attack Bilberry. One is going to try and scoot over between you, Gilroy, and Melee. One is going to move up on Gentel, and one is going to go right in front of you, Gilroy. So I'll do the attack against Melee first. And that's going to be a 17. So he slashes into you with a hatchet, dealing 6 points of damage. Here's the attack against Gilroy. A 9.
No.
Ever sense your amulet of protection.
Yes.
flash of blue from that amulet, and you suddenly feel as though an attack's coming from that direction and dodge, barely managing to evade it, and you are thankful for the magic within it. The attack against Bilberry is going to hit him. You're going to be taking 7 points of damage from that one. Bilberry not looking too good, already cut up from his prior battles. And then an attack against Chantel, which is going to miss. That brings us from those guys to Melee. Melee, this dude charged right up on in on you.
Yeah.
He is singed from burning hands, but still in a very angry, aggressive position.
I'm gonna use my sharpshooter.
Okay. You draw back.
It's 5 to attack, so it's just plus 3.
You couldn't
Yeah, so
quite
6.
get the shot in on him, and the arrow goes flying up, streaking into the smoke above that building, which is going to bring us from Melee to Chantel, who is going to look towards Bilberry and you, Gilroy, and go, "You got this." And she disengages and makes her way on in there, seemingly working away at whatever machinations tied that man down. The flames growing ever steadier and larger, which is going to bring us to Gilroy. Gilroy, it's a bit of a cluster in front of you.
Yeah. Alright. Can I hit these guys with burning hands again?
It's a 15-foot cone, right?
Yeah.
Does it start at? It would start at 5 feet, right?
Yeah,
you
it
could
starts
hit those-
adjacent.
Yep. So Bilberry would easily enough be able to evade it, and you would hit those 3 in front of you, no doubt.
I think I look for a second like past those guys, and Zorn is on the other side there, and then I just let loose with the burning hands once again.
All right.
So Dex.
So 3 dex saves on my part. A fail. These guys are no good at these. 1 success. And a fail.
Okay.
That's a good roll.
Finally, yeah. 15.
15. Wow.
So it really flares up,
Yes.
like twice as big as the last time.
Cut in half. 15 would be 7. Cut in half for D&D rules.
Right.
Yeah, these two fall to the ground in just a crisp bunch. You see down the way Zorn, not exactly a happy acknowledgement, but a nod as you use your arcane prowess to just burn those men down. Bilberry ducks down onto the ground and uses his hand to shield himself from the heat real quick.
Yeah, I don't. Gilroy wasn't looking for acknowledgement necessarily,
No.
but is maybe permission in a sense
Sure.
from Zorn to let loose again.
Yeah, especially because much of your evocation is inspired by maneuvers he's made in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Which brings us from Gilroy to Erlon. Erlon, this one pest here, he is just in the way of you and your ultimate goal.
He's a fly
Yeah.
on the wall. He's not anything important. One question is, I know we can't see with the map, but how thick is the ash here? I'm
Thick enough
wondering
that
I could use my Mask of the Wild
you
to
definitely
disappear in it.
potentially could, yes.
Okay.
If you were to disengage from this combat and roll a stealth check or 2, you could definitely use that.
Cool.
It's not so obscuring that you can't see all the way like down the street,
Yeah.
but only the very silhouettes and shadows of things, not really any detail to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I delve deep into my elven blood a little bit now, trying anything I can to kind of get Vorakin. Rather than just going at things with the immense strength I usually do, I have to start using my cunning if
Yes.
we're supposed to take him down. So I'm going to try to activate that sort of ability and hide within the ash.
Okay?
So stealth check, you said?
Yes.
7.
A 7?
Mm-hmm.
It's enough for the guy that you were previously locked in combat with there.
That works.
I will move you. Would you like to move more northward or like towards Vorakin? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So-
I kind of want to like hug the building where
Yeah.
the ash is coming off like the strongest.
Definitely. You disengage that window in front of you, billowing smoke out of it. The man that was right next to you a moment ago, who had his shield raised, does not have great vision of the area around him, and is suddenly glancing about for that battle he was just priorly in, looking towards your friends now down this way. You feel confident that you've evaded him by just kind of blending in. However, Vorakin, not exactly acknowledging your position, but still just moving back his front face towards you, walking backwards. He seems still in position for combat, which brings us from Erlon to Vorakin, who is going to, just continue taking a few steps backwards. And that's going to bring us to Leander.
Right. Well, I don't think Leander even saw that Arena and Zorn and Olerin were here.
Not in particular.
I mean, obviously, he definitely probably didn't see Bilberry, like...
No, you might have had a glance down in that direction, acknowledge that there are some people fighting on your side, but then immediately this distraction to your left brought you in here.
This is, just... Where was Olerin from? Was he from
He was
Gnold?
from Gnold.
Okay, alright. I'll keep that in mind for later, probably.
Definitely.
So I'll run on down this hallway, go as far as I can at least. Probably chasing after this guy. Not quite sure what he'll find in this room.
So you make your way on down the hallway, and when you make it to about here, turning the corner, you see two men with a woman. She has a dagger and is lashing out at them nonstop. One of them has taken a good cut, and there's a little bit of blood bleeding from his hand and dropping to the floor, but they are definitely in a bad position with her right now. So the first thought that comes across your mind is you will not let this stand.
Oh yeah.
And they are taunting her, don't seem to have even taken notice of you yet, despite the fact that as you make your way down the hallway, it's...
Yeah. Can I take a swing at this guy?
One,
Or
two,
did I
three,
just
4, 5,
charge in there?
6.
I think you could reach from there. No. Right?
Yeah, no, that's technically adjacent. I gave you one extra space, but
Yeah.
yes, go for
Okay.
it.
We're on wooden floors,
Yeah,
man.
interiors are
You're
going
a
to be...
giant, you have a longer reach.
Yeah,
No.
right.
There's a lot of ways we could justify this.
So yeah, I'll take a swing at this guy.
Okay.
Probably grabbing him and trying to
Just shank right
Yeah.
into him, yeah.
for a 16.
Yes.
Not making this one a divine smite, but stabbing him for sure.
Yep. Extra D4.
Oh, that's right.
You're right.
Man, that
you
is
haven't-
really helpful.
You haven't taken damage yet, so no concentration checks.
9 damage.
9 damage.
Man,
yeah.
that turned it from 6 to 9, and that feels like a really big difference.
Yeah, that's definitely a very significant hit.
That's definitely probably a bastard sword going through somebody instead of a short sword.
Yeah. And with that, those two turn back towards you. The one that you shanked into just go, oh my god. And the one that was over by the woman going, what the hell is that? Runs in on you. Give you 2 attacks. One is throwing a 15, and the other, natural 20.
Of course.
He'll be slashing into you for, would be 10 points, but it's going to be 7.
You're a tough guy.
He's a tough guy.
Callbacks, baby! That's what's happening in that corner anyway. Up this way. These guys are going to attempt some perception checks,
Okay.
and they're going to have disadvantage. That fails. That guy already failed. So both of them are glancing about in the ash as the smoke just pours out that window within the building which Chantel ran into. If you were to glance in that way, you see her working away with an elvish dagger, tying his bonds, or breaking his bonds so that he becomes free. And she's like rolling him away from the fires because they had him very tightly bound down and incapable of moving. And the fires just continuously, inch by inch, licking closer towards them. As you glance in that direction, which brings us from those two. These guys down this way. Arena, you witness as she brings her flail down with a divine strike and just smashes into the shoulder of that guy, flinging him into an alley, and he goes down. Zorn, summons up some arcane fire like you've seen in the past and blasts it into the dude that's right adjacent to him. Olerin sprints up this way and attempts to slash into that guy that was looking for a combatant. With a natural 20. Good, he deserves it.
Ridiculous.
For max damage, he's going to be doing 19 points of damage there, as
Holy
Olerin,
smokes.
with a sudden viciousness, runs up and just runs his sword through that guy, and with just tears in his eyes, looks up towards the north and goes, "Vorakin, you bastard!" Which brings us from those guys to Melee. Melee, that guy that you shot at, still in the middle of this combat.
Melee's not doing too hot. Her arrow was caught. She's missing people. She hasn't killed anyone yet.
This is what we were asking for, Melee.
Almost makes me miss demons.
Shifting more the other way.
I'm gonna use my short sword on the guy in front of me instead, since the
Longbow wasn't
longbow did
working
not
out.
quite. Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Nice.
So, 24.
Yes.
Oh, you
Wait, is
actually
that- that's a crit.
because you have
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So what do I do with that?
So you roll.
Is it
your-
crit?
She has
On
the
19 or 20.
19
She has
or
a
20.
19
Oh, right, she's a
because
champion
you're
fighter.
critical.
Nice.
So you take your d6, roll it.
Double that number.
Alright, well, if we can
That's
reroll.
cocked, yeah. I'm making him. There it is! From
I went from a
to
1,
6.
yeah.
And that's plus your dexterity modifiers.
So,
So
12,
plus 3.
15?
So
15 damage on that? Yeah.
Okay.
Deciding there's no time to waste, you stow your bow for a second, draw your short sword, and slit that guy's throat.
Man, I feel like the only reason you tried that last arrow shot was just because you had it knocked already, and then you just kind of was like,
Not the right tactic now. I'm
Right.
gonna kill this guy. Yeah. And you absolutely do. With a very quick strike, you bring him to the ground and he bleeds out immediately. Which brings us to Jantel, who's going to be making some quick sleight of hand checks, though she's pretty good at them. With an 18, that's more than enough. You guys witness her and the rope and the man who was priorly tied up making their way out. She gives him a pat and gives him a direction, points down towards the way that Olerin and Zorn and Arena were, and he runs off, making his way past them to safety. Which brings us from Jantel to Gilroy. Gilroy, there's this one combatant in front of you.
One last guy.
Yeah.
This has been very chaotic
Yeah.
for Gilroy. He's been sort of turning and twisting and whirling about and letting loose spells. And I think after Melee's last turn, he feels a splatter on the side of his face
Yes.
and lifts his hand, still warm, views it and sees the blood in the from this guy next to him that has just fallen to Melee's short sword, a vicious cut. And he turns to look at her and sort of freezes for a second once again. He just keeps finding these people in the battle that
Yeah,
he's
just
able to
like-
sort of
Oh, that's a friend.
yeah,
Oh, that's
level
an
with
enemy.
for a second. But then he's like, "Where's Erlon? Where's Leander?"
I just kind of point, like, that way, like, just over there.
Towards
So just,
Leander's direction, or just in
Well, kind of in a swinging motion towards,
Sure.
like, Erlon, and then kind of pointing behind.
Yeah, you know the
Like,
general
there.
direction that
Yeah,
went,
I
but
don't
now-
actually know.
Yeah, Erlon
Erlon
seemingly.
kind of missed. Like, he disappeared a little bit.
Yeah.
You see Erlon sneaking up the side of the building.
You can get quick glances
Yeah.
towards Erlon's direction, see his shadow there.
Yeah.
You know.
I know he's trying to do something.
Yes. And Leander, you know he ran into that building, but don't know what his fate has been since.
Yeah.
Then what, Gilroy?
I think without looking. All right, maybe with
You
a
guys
side
take
eye.
disadvantage for that badass.
Yes, okay, without looking, Gilroy pulls out the dagger.
Okay.
I knew it.
And it glows purple, and these 3 magic missiles sort of fly past the front of his face to the dude standing next to him.
Okay. One roll.
Oh, one roll. It was
I
a
think
30.
they all
The first one
ended
was,
up-
yeah.
You had 4 HP left. There's nothing that wouldn't have killed him.
Yeah.
So those 3 arcane bolts materialize around your head, around your hand in which the dagger is held, and Melee, you witness as they just and take that guy right to the ground, knocking him into the mud. Bill Burry, who was in a bit of combat with him, falls backwards into the mud with his dagger, and is just looking up into the ash and breathing heavy, which brings us from Gilroy to Erlon. Erlon, that man in front of you, seemingly his face caught up in the smoke, has no idea you're there.
Okay. So, from not hitting anybody and not being hit,
Yes.
my rage
Subsides.
it subsides, but with the bull strength potion, I'm able to keep that little bit of intensity.
Yeah.
Still, my muscles don't get exhausted.
No.
And my body's instinctively moving with like the patterns of like the smoke
Absolutely.
and everything like that. And I'm more focused now. And what I want to do, if I can, is pull out my longbow.
Yep.
And I bought a vine arrow, just one.
Yes.
And I want to see if I can, since I don't know if I'm hidden from Vorakin, but I want to try to peg him with the vine arrow, see if I can make him stationary.
Yep. He is
Because
technically.
then I know I can really wail on him after
Definitely.
that.
He is technically aware of your location, so you won't have advantage, but otherwise you're good to go on that, yeah.
I'm just more worried about him deflecting my arrows, I think, at
There's
this point.
definitely potential for that, but
Yeah.
depends on some rolls on my part.
Alright. So just a regular attack then?
Yep.
Okay. 15.
15 will hit him.
Awesome.
It's his AC. So roll your damage.
4.
4?
Yep.
He does not catch it. He does reduce the damage by quite a bit.
Mhm.
However, the arrow sinks into him the littlest bit. Both of his hands on it. He rips it out of his chest, and then you see the vine sprout and begin to tie him down, and he is now pinned to the ground. Until his turn, at least, he's going to attempt some strength checks to be able to break free of that. He seems pretty well and held down for now. So
Awesome.
really dealing 1 damage, but he is in fact considered to be restrained, which is pretty rough on his end.
I mean, that's pretty badass. I mean, I can badass. I can picture Erlon just like in the smoke of this like chaotic battle with like bodies like dismembered basically from his great sword around him, and then just he peeks out and shoots. You could just see a vine arrow shoot into this guy, like tying him down.
Not only that, but he nearly catches it, and then in his hubris lifts it, and it sprouts vines and ties him down. Yeah, a very surprising maneuver from Erlon, which seems to a sudden look of concern in his eyes that things might be turning against him suddenly.
Kind of has a deeper meaning if you look into that.
Which brings us back to Leander, who is doing his own thing.
Just killing everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of
You just
absolute
cleared out.
righteous fury out of Leander tonight.
Oh yeah, and definitely, after stabbing that guy, pulls out the sword and swings down at the other guy. I mean, this guy, he's just seething at. He's incredibly angry, especially for a giant half-orc. Definitely going to try and take a swing down at him with a Divine Smite. 15?
15 will hit the guy, yeah.
Alright.
This is the fresh one you're targeting?
Yeah, this is the fresh one.
Okay.
For 18 damage.
Yeah, 18 health. Yeah, cutting that guy down. A sudden look of fear in his eyes as you mutter a word to Torm, your weapon glowing divinely. You slice down, and your hand is guided with such strength that it just cuts through his upper half. He falls back dead. The woman gives out a scream, but definitely is more happy to see you than them. The man next to you goes, "Oh shit!" and he's going to attempt to run away.
Definitely
you
take a swing
can
at
throw
him.
your swing at him.
9.
He manages to regroup with his friends at the end of the hall.
The swing probably gets caught on the doorway,
Yeah.
just barely not able to hit him in the back.
And they begin to just run, trying to find some place to hide or a window to jump out of or anything like that. The woman back there, breathing heavily, looks up at you and goes, "Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know how much longer I had left. Here." And she tosses you a small velvet bag, seemingly full of coin.
I tell Torm will guide you out onto the street and to the right. Keep running.
All right. And she begins to sprint on out, lifting her dress. She attempts to make her way out onto the street and into the ash, and you see at the end, into the entrance in which you came into, her glance about for a moment and then sprint off to the right. Which brings us from the baddies to melee. Melee, everyone seems to be quite defeated. You see a crossbowman up the way, and Vorakin is now being held down, which might be rather advantageous on your end.
So I have a poison arrow?
You do. Time to break out the magic arrows.
I'm gonna shoot past you and try.
Are you using your great weapons to be held down? Because I don't know if you get advantage or not if he's held
Yes,
down.
yeah, you do get advantage because he.
Not your great weapons, sorry. Your
Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Words.
the same
Okay,
feat.
It's been a long days. Days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go for it.
So roll those twice.
This twice.
Yep. Take the higher.
Not that one.
Oh, it is that one though.
The 3 and a 2.
I was like so ready for like the next one to be like 19 again or something.
You should lay a sharpshooter for the. So it still wouldn't.
No,
Yeah.
aiming down that way. You overdraw this poison arrow, unleash it down towards Vorakin's direction, and he does in fact manage to rip some vines to the side, causing it to shoot right past him and sink into
There's
the
a
wooden
lot
frame.
of ash.
Oh, there's so
Shut
much
up.
going on. No one's gonna blame you. Which brings us from Melee to Jantel, who has freed the man within and is going to run. The man. That's a little masculine for an elf. She runs on up and is going to unsheath her dagger and try and stab into this clueless crossbowman. With a natural 20, she'll be doing it quite well. For max damage, she's going to be dealing 12 points of damage. And
The
nearly
most
kills
crits
that guy.
are you against your own
I
guys.
What kind of D20 is that? Where can I buy one?
Yeah.
Here at the Freakopolis.
Hey.
Plugs are later. Alright.
Which brings us to Gilroy. Yeah, Gilroy, glancing on down that way, you see Arena and Zorn more meticulously and slowly making their way through the ash, seemingly have their wits about them much better than Olerin, who just was sprinting past you guys.
And the screaming's done, at least
Seemingly in the direct area around
Yeah.
you. There's still, yelling and
cacophony from those.
just the
town,
streets around, but the very local pressing matters seem to have been vastly resolved, yeah.
Alright, I think I will sort of cross to where Melee is a little bit. You know,
Alright,
be-
you witness this very finely dressed seeming, not quite a noble, but maybe the wife of a traveling wealthy merchant, sprinting past you from the direction that Leander had been delving into.
Is that him?
Yes. She's upset. Yes.
Don't worry, I've got this. And I'm gonna cast Melf's Acid Arrow.
Okay. An attempt a very similar thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm really like copying Melee here.
Yeah, that's what Gilroy does. 18.
18 will hit.
Yeah.
And try
Can
not to
you-
let her
Can
ego
you
affect
deflect
her.
Malf's acid arrow?
No.
It's not an actual arrow.
No.
So he takes 4d4.
Nice.
And then 2d4 next round or something like that.
At the start of his turn.
Oh, that'll be like coming up.
Yeah. 11.
Nice.
11.
That's a good, solid roll for
Yep.
44.
A nice acid arrow. You see Vorakin now, his robes and coat are slashed into, cut up. He seems to be bleeding and breathing heavily, but by no means slowing down. Which brings us from Gilroy to the top of the round with Erlon. Erlon, Jantel has this fool.
So, I smile watching Vorakin's hubris.
Yes, absolutely.
And I decide that if I'm really going to defeat him, I'm going to have to center myself. I'm going to have to come to terms with both sides to really bring him down.
Yes.
I'll have to become who just me, just present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, he calls on Genra the Quick. So, Genra,
Help you.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Guide me in the moment to my objective. Let me fulfill this.
And she appears next to you, this ghostly visage, putting a hand on your shoulder like the other ones do when they appear, goes, quickly now, swiftly, that way, and points you off in a direction that seemingly will definitely assist you. And,
So
you sprint up to him?
Yeah, so I plant my feet and use my my last bit of effort in me to throw my final rage out for the day.
Okay.
Blast through the smoke. If it made a sound, it would sound like rocks falling down a mountain as I just charge at him.
Sure.
And use my great weapon focus. And do I have advantage because he's pinned down?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's see if I can really do
Get
some
that.
heavy damage with this.
You have advantage.
Do have advantage.
Yeah,
right, sorry.
roll again.
I immediately was already like, oh, yeah. 16.
Yes!
Nice.
Okay. So that's 9 plus 5 plus 4. 18.
Nice.
Numbers! 18 damage, yeah. Seeing Vorakin in this vulnerable position, you cut on down to him, slashing in through the vines, which immediately, in their magic, just rewrap themselves around him and get a very decent slash down his chest, adding to the scars of this battle for him. And that brings it to his turn. First, he's going to make a strength saving throw. He's going to succeed, so he breaks out of the vines.
He's also going to take
He's going to take 2d4 damage.
8 damage.
Wow, nice job.
As the acid melts into him, covering his coat. You can see a little bit of steam rise out. Breathing heavily, he looks towards you, Erlon, savagery in his eyes, and he goes, "This isn't over!" And he's going to be making 3 attacks with a legendary action.
Bring it.
There's 2 hits and a crit.
He brought it.
You'll be doing 8 on the first one, reduced to 4, and then here's the crit.
So that's 10. I'm down to 10.
You're going to be doing 18 damage on that hit.
Down to
Oh, come on, Erlon.
It's getting tense.
So after he rips out of these vines, Erlon, he looks towards you, tells you it's not over. One jab to the chest that sends you reeling back for a moment. Another one that you manage to react to, but right as you do that, he brings his hand back behind you and takes your head and slams it into his knee, which just completely shatters your perspective. There's all sorts of sparkles and stuff going on. You're bleeding heavily from the nose, dirtied and covered in ash. And with that, he's also going to use a legendary action that was his strength save to get out, legendary action to make the attack, and then with his monk skills, he's going to disengage and make his way back onto this cart. And he takes the seat on the back of it. The man who drives it goes, "Hyah!" And the cart begins to set on out at a good pace. You see that there's a great many barrels of wine on the back of that. Like he had said, he poisoned the wine as to rid the land of its lords. And it seems like that plot continues. And he goes, "You're not ready yet, kid. We'll meet again in River's End." And with that, bleeding heavily, he leans back into the barrels, and the wagon begins to make its way off.
I just scream in rage. We were so close.
You were
so close.
You were literally doing so much damage.
I
I was
was-
like, oh man, if this screws Ian up for some reason,
I
like
was
if you
pulling
kill him
everything
here.
off my character sheet. Like, what can I do? Like,
These men inside this house, seeing Vorakin retreat like that, their leader and the man who inspired them to start this raid, realize it's probably not a good idea to charge you and begin to make their way on back, retreating like many of the rebels have. However, their mission much completed. The town is a smoky ruin. The people are dead around the streets. Chantel kills this last dude down here, we can presume. And finally, everything seems to go quiet for a moment. You guys are capable of catching your breath and witness families reconverging, folks crying over lost loved ones as everyone gets together. Olerin Gray, in particular, is looking up north on his knees in the middle of the road and just panting with dried tears that take the ash off the bottom of his face and leave it a bit cleaned. As you turn back, Erlon, seeing that chasing him would be a fool's errand at the moment. You see, Chantel give another quick thrust into that guy and leave him dead, sagging there on the floor, and Olerin looking up at you with very pleading eyes.
Can I butt in here real quick?
Yes.
I think as Leander looks down the hallway and sees those men leaving, he gets out a javelin in his hand, but instead he just shouts out from there, probably feeling, I'm guessing he's probably going to return to normal.
Yeah,
regular
I'm gonna set you down there.
half-orc size.
Yeah.
Just
I think it's 10
screams out,
minutes, so, yeah.
Torm won't forget your faces, and neither will I! And then starts to sprint back out to,
To reconverge.
yeah.
Wow.
So I think,
You might end up in Oath of Vengeance Paladin
Yeah,
here,
it's
folks.
getting
Like,
pretty-
okay,
they were
so
killing innocent people.
they definitely were. You have no qualms about your actions today.
You definitely see Leander, sprinting out of that, or I guess now seeing as Carly sprints out in the beginning, but then begins slowing down to a walk as he sees everyone in the middle of this kind of center area. His sword absolutely drenched in blood and his armor battered and beaten once again.
Yeah, seeing you making your way down that way, Arena runs up to you and with a quick healing word, she's going to heal you for 7 points. And gives you just an embrace, knowing that you're safe and that you were here for this. The rest of you kind of, reconverge in the middle of this crossroads here, and Olerin, completely wrecked by the day's occurrences, looking down at the bodies on the ground, he goes, that was a friend of mine, the butcher's boy. We used to make our way to Lowton. And another tear runs down his eyes. Zorn, looking about at all the death, seems to have steeled himself from this, goes, this is a tragedy. Who did this?
Vorakin.
Pure rage just going in his face. He looks up towards the north and goes, Vorakin will burn! And Chantel goes, this was my fault. I had thought we were tracking orcs. I tried my best, but I hadn't considered the number of men that he had gathered. I every time that there was clues, I ignored them, just imagining that Vorakin couldn't have possibly imagined or amassed a force as such.
I'm gonna walk over to Olerin and I'm gonna tell her, she couldn't have known, and I'm gonna pick him up a little bit. I'm gonna hold him up.
Sure, absolutely. Looking up towards you, Melee, you give him a hand, and he gets up off of his knees, and what are we gonna do, Melee?
We'll figure it out.
I think Leander moves over to Erlon and puts a hand on his shoulder, giving him 20 points of lay on hands.
Yes, Erlon, who has not even had a chance to get a word out, wheezing, coughing, and spitting up blood in a really rough position. You can see multiple bruises from fists just dot his chest, and it looks like, maybe a fractured shoulder, not a very good state for him. But with a quick lay on hands, you get rid of the worst of it, and he seems to be very capable of at least making it back to town.
Thank you, Battle Brother.
Don't mention it. These men were misguided and troubled.
They were poisoned deep into their souls. Nothing less. Vorakin will pay.
We'll be
And I
here to
just-
help, Erlan.
Thank you. And I look over at Ulrin and I just kind of look down in shame, just being like, I had him.
Yeah, you very nearly did too.
And I know I was trying to, like, Ulrin and I had fought together too, so it's just like, I feel like I let another Battle Brother down, because we fought in, like, that giant.
Yeah, you fought when the orcs
So-
first arrived in Helmtop,
Mhm.
and Olerin, though he's been really attempting to keep Zorn and Bilberry safe, you definitely consider him a valuable friend and a good ally. And Bilberry, by the way, tugs on your robes once again, Gilroy, and looks up at you and goes, "No more hiding out for us. Zorn and I, well, we had a boat coming up towards Lowton for transport to River's End, but now we're just as invested as the rest of you. This is for Olerin."
I'm glad to hear it. Let's get this guy.
Let's do it.
We'll catch him.
And you guys, as a very somber, rather large party, walk your way back towards Lowton to make your way to the Quran on Dune in the afternoon sun, passing through muddy streams and fields, the ash and smoke of Gnold billowing in the distance, going up into the sky and into the clouds. And that is where we are going to leave it off tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I hope you had a great time with this very serious episode. Very quick little thing, but we'll be back next week with a full episode for episode 8. And thank you so much for watching. TJ, take care of the rest for me.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is shot here live at our comic and game shop in Whitehall, New York, the Freakopolis Geekery. We have lots of comics and D&D and tabletop role-playing games and games of all sorts. And you can come and see us 5 days a week. Ian and I generally behind the counter here. I'd love to talk to you about what you're playing or reading. And you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. We're all over the place. Search Freakopolis. We're the only one.
If you are watching this on YouTube as the post, be sure to throw us a like, and if you really enjoy the show, give it a share and show your friends. It would mean a lot to us. Finally, a shout out to our father with all the production work he puts into this show. It would not be possible without him. And we will see you again next week, guys. Have a good night.